How's it going, everybody? My name is Liam Alexander Stewart with Inside the Ropes, and today I'm going to be sitting down with one of the rising stars of the North American independent circuit. He's the current C4 champion, ESW heavyweight champion, and Limitless Wrestling world champion. And at just 22 years old, he is undeniably the future of American wrestling. It's none other than Daniel Garcia. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, very well. I feel blessed. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Been looking forward to this all week. We're going to talk about a whole lot of things today. We're going to recap your career, some of the big names you faced, your big upcoming match next week against JD Drake, and talk a little bit about your time doing shows, WWE, AEW, and what the future holds for Daniel Garcia 2021 and onwards. I mentioned there, one of the hottest properties in the North American independent scene right now. Everyone's full of praise. You seem to be working everywhere, as things start to reopen. You're booked everywhere. Let's go back a little bit. So 2017, you have a look, you're having some matches, and then suddenly 2018, everything seems to kick up a gear. You had your 205 Live appearance in the WWE against Drew Gulak. You're working up and down the country. Over the past 4 years now, how have you found sort of honing your craft on the independent circuit? Has there been anyone in particular that you've worked with on the scene that's really put their arm around you and helped you find the ropes? And is there any advice that you remember that's kind of really helped drive you on?
Yeah, so essentially I started in 2017. That's when I started training. I started having matches very early throughout my training, probably earlier than I should have. So I was kind of putting some stuff together in 2017, trying to get my name out there, that type of stuff. Eventually 2018 comes and I start putting it all together. I start getting booked by Smash Wrestling, which is a big promotion in Canada. At the time, they were bringing in all the top indie names from America, from Canada, from the UK, even from Japan. They were bringing in the top people in the world. And I was blessed with the opportunity to work there very frequently. And I got to wrestle there, people like Stu Grayson, Tyson Dukes, some of the people who are the best in the world very early on in my career. And I feel like that's something that helped me be able to kind of get a head start on a lot of people in professional wrestling. I was kind of baptized by fire and thrown in the deep end with the sharks right away. So I credit people like Brandon Thurston, who's my head trainer, Pepper Parks, the Blade from AEW, who was also another one of my trainers, and Tyson Dukes is three people who really helped me very early on in my wrestling career and still continue to help me every single day.
Yeah, you have had sort of the joy, and I think is one of the things with the sort of independent route that a lot of people always speak quite highly of, if some of the names you can work with early on. And one of my favorite things whenever I'm talking with somebody that's currently busting their ass on the indie circuit is to have a look at some of those matches early on, because you always get some interesting ones that pop up. And I noticed, I think it was in ESW, you worked a tag team match featuring Hurricane Helms.
Yeah.
Do you have any memories of that match and working with Helms? Because I've heard a lot of things about him as a guy.
That had to be one of the most random matches of all time. It was me, a dude named Rob Sweet, who I've never tagged with before that, never tagged with again, versus Randy P, who was teaming with the Hurricane. And at the time, Randy P was already in a tag team. He was like a tag champion. For some reason, he wasn't tagging with his tag champion. He was tagging with the Hurricane. And we were wrestling at a fair in Salamanca, New York. So it's like an Indian reservation, American reservation type of town. And so we were wrestling there on like a free fair show. There's no admission. Anybody can come see it. And it was the most random match in my life. But Hurricane Helms was great to work with. He is a very big man in person. You don't see that on TV, but he's a huge man and he's super creative and super down to earth and fun to work with. I really enjoyed my time working with him for the brief time that it was.
Yeah, I think that is one of the joys of sort of working on the independent circuit. You do get those really sort of random matches where the dice just land in a certain way, and like you say, certainly you're working with Helms. We would be amiss if we didn't talk about your upcoming match next week against JD Drake. You're the Limitless Wrestling World Champion. an incredible lineage of names on that belt. You've got NJF, Anthony Green, now August Gray, and the man you defeated for the title, Christian Casanova. The belt clearly spells big things for the men who hold that title, but in order to reap those rewards, next Friday you need to successfully defeat JD Drake to hold on to that title. Just how tough a fight are you expecting from Drake? And do you think that come the end of the night, you'll be able to come out on the other side as still Limitless Wrestling World Champion?
Yeah, of course, I believe that I'm going to be able to come out as still champion. I wouldn't be wrestling if I didn't think I was going to be able to win every single match. But I'm expecting an extremely tough fight with JD Drake. He is a veteran. He's wrestled a who's who of talent. He's wrestled and Evolve. I was a big fan of JD Drake when I first started becoming a wrestler, and I'm still a big fan of his today. He's somebody who deserves everything he's getting recently with AEW. He deserves every opportunity that he's ever had because he's a great wrestler. But I'm going to show to him that although you can be a great wrestler, just like a lot of these guys, the things that separate really great wrestlers from the best wrestlers, it all comes down to executing the little things. And I believe that I execute all the little things just a little bit better than JD Drake does. And that's why I think I'm going to come with the win and remain Limitless Wrestling Champion.
I think it is definitely a match that fans are excited for. Everyone's kind of talking about the match's styles. And obviously with Drake being a bigger guy, kind of one of the better powerhouses in the circuit just now, I was having a look at sort of the experience you might have had, during your time at facing off against this style. And I noticed that WXW Ambition 11 in Canada, you went toe-to-toe with the reigning WWE United Kingdom champion Walter. Just how tough was he as an opponent? Do you think going toe-to-toe with someone like Walter has helped prep you for this title defense against JD Drake?
I truly believe that wrestling is all about wrestling people of different styles and learning from those experiences. And we're at a time now in wrestling where once somebody starts to get a little bit of notoriety, they get signed right away. So a lot of people my age don't get the opportunity to wrestle people who have a lot more experience than they do. And I believe that that's almost stunting the growth of a lot of independent wrestlers. And that's why a lot of people look at independent wrestling as not as good as it used to be, just because we don't have that opportunity to wrestle people that are that much better than us. But like I said earlier, I was very blessed in my career to wrestle people who are some of the best in the world. And Walter is one of those people. Walter, he hits hard. He hits extremely hard. I was extremely sore after that match. That was essentially like, how they do WrestleMania weekend every year? That was like a SummerSlam weekend. So I was wrestling like 6 matches in 3 days.
Yeah.
That was like my second round match of the tournament. And I had to go to a show right after that. But wrestling Walter was great. He's somebody who I truly believe is one of the, if not the best wrestler in the world today. I really admire his style and I really admire his views on professional wrestling. And so to be able to go in the ring with somebody who you look up to that much, it always means a lot. And it's always going to be a great learning experience. The match was short. It wasn't extremely long, but it was a flurry, I came out guns a-blazing. I knew that my best shot at beating him was going to be coming out fast and strong, but he overwhelmed me and he got the win. But that's not JD Drake. I'm a lot different than I was then. I'm a lot more prepared for this style of match than I was at that point in time in my career. And I think JD Drake was beaten by Walter as well in Evolve.
Yeah.
So I guess the battle of people who got whooped by Walter. It's about who can adapt more. And I believe that I adapted more in these past couple of years than JD Drake has.
I want to tie on something you mentioned there when you were talking about sort of with everyone getting signed up and it becoming increasingly harder to face off against people with like that much more experience. It was something I wanted to touch on upon because we have seen sort of a shift in the independent sort of scene where, as you mentioned, because there are so many big companies that are, now noticing all this talent. Between that and obviously we've had the pandemic this last year, sort of how much do you think these sort of things have affected your sort of ability to develop? Because we've still seen you turn into this fantastic performer. Is that just down to sort of hard work and sticking to it, or sort of how have you managed to make it work despite that?
I believe it's very hard for independent wrestlers to develop right now, just because we don't have people that we can wrestle to give us that learning experience. When Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and Chris Hero and Tony Nese, those people were all in the indies. They were able to get that good because they were able to wrestle people from the generation before them to make them that good. And we don't have that right now. So a lot of guys like me, Lee Moriarty, Wheeler Yuta, AJ Gray, Kevin Blackwood, you see us hustling and really grinding it out and taking every opportunity that we can in order to improve. And I believe that although it might stun our growth a little bit, I think it will help make us more independent, and it might help us be able to find who we are as performers a little bit quicker than the past generation has.
Definitely. And you
And
mentioned go for it.
oh, sorry.
No.
We still have obviously we still have some guys left. We have Chris Dickinson, JD Drake, Josh Alexander. We have people who can still take independent bookings and really help us develop and grow his talent. It's Speedball Mike Bailey. It's just not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you mentioned sort of a long list there of incredible talent that we're seeing come through. And, you know, you've faced off against pretty much all of them. And we've seen you face off against, you know, them in Limitless as well as elsewhere. Is there anyone that stands out, yourself excluded, obviously, that you can kind of see leading this next sort of generation of sort of independent talent that's kind of crafting their own path?
Yeah, excluding myself, obviously, I believe that the person really leading this charge and leading this pack is Lee Moriarty. When I see Lee Moriarty, I've wrestled him several times. He's like my greatest rival on the independent circuit right now. He's somebody, whenever I'm standing in the ring and I see him come out to face me, I'm almost in awe. The way he just puts everything together, it's not just about his execution of moves, which is obviously great. It's everything about him. It's the total package. It's the entrance theme. It's the mask. It's the little poses he does. It's the cadence. It's the things he says in his matches. To me, that's what makes a great professional wrestler. And he is able to put everything together extremely well and extremely unique. And I've never seen a wrestler like Lee Moriarty in my life, ever. I can truly say that I've never seen another wrestler like Lee Moriarty. And I believe that he is the person who, besides me, is leading this pack of the next generation of wrestlers.
Yeah, he and obviously yourself do seem to have that sort of spark, that sort of drive that I think we see from all the talent that kind of emerges and that has big things in the future for them. You mentioned Josh Alexander there, and if I remember right, I tried to do a quick check. I believe you defeated Josh Alexander for the C4 championship.
Correct. Yeah.
Obviously, we've seen Josh Alexander recently have some success in Impact, just picked up the X Division title. Is that something a path you'd consider going down in the future, maybe going along to Impact, or if you can back up with Alexander if that opportunity arose?
Yeah, I'm down to take any opportunity that comes my way. It's just all about timing and all about the right place, the right time, that type of thing. And Impact is doing great things right now. I really enjoy watching a lot of their talent. I really like guys like Chris Bay, Josh Alexander, obviously, Trey Miguel, Ace Austin. I believe that they have a really unique talent pool right now and a really strong core who are hungry to prove that they're the best wrestling company in the world. And I think in due time, once this talent develops more and more and more throughout the years, if people continue to stay the course and stay with Impact Wrestling, I believe that they're going to be a huge force in the professional wrestling world, even more so than they already are now. In wrestling Josh Alexander, it was great. He's somebody who I looked up to for a very long time. I would watch him when he would come to my local promotion when I was younger in the crowd. And he's another person. He hits extremely hard. And wrestling him was a great learning experience. It showed me what you have to do in order to get to that next level in professional wrestling. How you need to kind of tread the deep waters when you're 20 minutes into a match, 25 minutes into a match, and how you can keep pushing forward when you're in those deep waters. And wrestling Josh Alexander definitely gave me that learning experience.
He's someone that I spoke with Ace Austin recently just before their Rebellion match, and he echoed a lot of the same sentiments about sort of just how impressive Alexander is, and sort of that ability, the micro details, if you like, that he's able to pick up on. You talked a lot about sort of if the opportunity arises, kind of timing and things of the such. We've seen you already. You know, we talked about your 205 Live appearance. You appeared in NXT earlier this year, taking on Tyler Russ, but we've also seen you in AEW on Dark a couple of times in tag team actions. How were your experiences backstage there? And to summarize, what is the future for Red Death 2021 onwards? What are your plans? What are your goals? And what are you aiming for?
Yeah, my experiences at AEW and NXT were great. I believe that whenever I'm in the ring anywhere, whether it be at Limitless Wrestling, at C4 Wrestling, or whether it be on USA Network for NXT or on TNT for AEW, whenever I'm in a ring, I feel like I belong there. There's never a locker room that I'm in that I feel like I don't deserve to be there. And it was the same case with WWE and also AEW. When I'm in that locker room getting changed next to the biggest wrestlers in the world, I feel like I belong there and I feel like I deserve to be there. Same thing when I'm in the ring there. I didn't feel like I was out of place. I didn't feel like it was very far-fetched for me to be there. It felt very natural and very like my soul and my spirit were calm in those moments. Which I think is rare for a lot of people. I think you see a lot of people go to those places and kind of get eaten up by the stars and the lights, but that's not me. When I'm in a ring, I feel natural. That's where I feel the most natural. And it doesn't matter where that ring is. In 2021 in the future, I don't like to set extremely specific goals for myself, like, oh, I'm gonna sign here and win this title. My goal is more general, and this has been my goal since I became a professional wrestler. You could ask the people at Grapplers Anonymous, where I started training 2 minutes from my house. My first day of training, I said I want to be the best wrestler in the world, and that is always going to be my number one goal. And I'm going to keep wrestling until I reach that goal.
Well, perfect. You know what? The way things are going at such a young age and what you've achieved already, you're on the perfect path there. Is there anything you want the people at home to check out? Anything to plug? Obviously, we've got your show. Gonna double check the date because time zones. Friday the 7th of May. Yourself, yep. JD Drake, Limitless Wrestling. But anything else you want to plug for yourself or any upcoming shows?
Yeah, definitely. Keep supporting independent wrestling. Do not give up on the scene. Keep supporting us in the best ways you can. We are the backbone and the culture setters of professional wrestling. And don't put so much pressure on people to sign contracts because you're gonna miss them once they're on the independents. So those are the only things I want to plug. Just support us and keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing great, and please just continue to watch, buy merch, like everything and retweet everything. Like, that's all I really want you guys to do. Enjoy us while you have us is what I want to leave it on.